What's up, everybody? I'm John Middlekauff. You know what I need you to do. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got content for days reacting to every NFL game all the time, every single day. Subscribe, like the videos. Let's go. Let's do a little thing we like to call the mailbag. We did a big mailbag yesterday. Still got a million questions, so I appreciate everyone that interacts with this. We will start with Harris, just my Instagram. You guys know the drill. Let's say you're a GM. Would you rather be in a position where the talent on the team is great and the quarterback is not up to the standards of winning a championship, like Dallas, Pittsburgh, or Miami? Or would you rather be in a position where the quarterback is great, but the talent itself is subpar? For example, like the Chargers. Some could say the Bears. I think you could throw the Bengals in there as well. I would say you would. It's like the NBA version. Would you rather just have the star and then figure it out, or would you rather have like a really deep team but no star? I think you always choose the star. Would I rather have Burrow or Herbert? Yeah, over the Cowboys. I wouldn't compare the Cowboys to the Steelers. I mean, they won 12 games 3 straight years, and Dak just kind of shit the bed. I mean, they did win one playoff game of the three, but like he's Dak. He's still a top 12-ish quarterback. Steelers don't have anybody. I mean, it doesn't exist. They do not have it. We think Aaron Rodgers. I just assume that, but the Dolphins to me are the worst spot because clearly their guy is like more than functional. You can just win with him, but he gets injured and he's not good enough to beat anyone actually good. So I would definitely choose the Chargers, definitely choose the Bengals. I mean, look at the Chargers. They get Jim Harbaugh. Last year they win 11. This year it feels like they're going to win double digit, be back in the playoffs. So I think you would always choose the quarterback first because you could have a really good team and just like struggle to find a quarterback. Do you think the BS holding on Bradbury in Super Bowl 57 is the difference being the Chiefs dynasty instead of the Eagles? As a diehard Birds fan, that still bothers me. Well, they won 3 of 5, and now you've won. So they would only have two, and you would have two. It would have been a pretty big moment. I mean, Howie would have had 3 Super Bowls. Sirianni would have had 2. Jalen Hurts would have had 2. Been a pretty big sliding doors moment in the NFL. I typically hate ticky tack calls in general. Uh, I do believe that pass interference is the one that like. I mean, most of these plays. I mean, obviously the famous one in the Saints Rams game where the dude got taken out. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. I'd have to re-see the play. I mean, you'd know better than me. That feels like 10 years ago. Something you said sparked a question. With the media rights evolving and the shift towards streaming, suppose Amazon offers the Big Ten $500 million for broadcasting rights and outbids a traditional partner like Fox. What is to stop Fox from going directly to a powerhouse program like Michigan or Ohio State and saying, if you go independent, we'll pay you $80 million each? Instead of schools forming super conferences, could we see more teams following a model like Notre Dame? Well, Notre Dame clearly, I mean, part of their pushback why they wouldn't join the Big Ten is they're making so much money off NBC. And they're a great partner because their game's rate on NBC, whether they're playing Navy, Army, or NIU, or whether they're playing A&M or SC. Like they do big numbers for NBC. Yeah, I think one of the worst mistakes I saw, Fox gets excellent Big Ten game, mainly because if Michigan's good or Ohio State's good, they just show all their games. And then when Penn State plays Michigan and when Penn State plays Ohio State, so they just ride those two brands. Where I saw the CBS, the game at, for me it was always 12:30 kickoff, but if you live on the Eastern Seaboard, 3:30. That Alabama, LSU, Florida, Georgia, the SEC game. Well, ESPN stole the SEC from them, and now some of the games is like Purdue, USC. I think it was like Ohio State, San Jose State. I mean, some of the games is like, this is what you guys are showing. I saw someone tweet like, "This is why Gary Danielson's quitting." I do think the thing with college football is you bring up a good point. Michigan, Ohio State are really like NFL teams. If Michigan is good, Ohio State has been continuously good. They do huge, huge television numbers. I mean, massive. A Michigan Penn State game will do a bigger number than any of the. In fairness, Oklahoma City is a tiny, tiny market, but I saw that the Oklahoma City Minnesota series was not highly rated, which makes sense. I mean, if it was Lakers Mavericks or Lakers Warriors, I mean, it would triple the number. But Ohio State is just a really, really valuable property. I do think they're locked in for a while, and Fox is a pretty good partner for the Big Ten. It's been very lucrative. I mean, for everybody involved. The Big Ten's making a ton of money. Fox is doing huge ratings. But I would say, big picture, everything's on the table. I don't pretend to be like some genius when it comes to never say never. If Fox got asked out in your hypothetical world, I think you would be naive to think that they wouldn't, if they were desperate to try to do something like that and go after Ohio State. I even think the number would be bigger. I would imagine if you asked like the Murdoch family and the people running the business of Fox, Ohio State is probably worth $200 million. Like they would have no problem just doing a direct deal, giving them $200 million a year. Maybe that number's crazy. Definitely well over 100. You said 80. I think it dwarfs that number. Minimum double it. The NBA Finals are almost here, and every play could be one that changes everything. This is the NBA playoffs, where heroes rise, legacies are built, and the action never lets up. With DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, you don't just watch the madness, you live it. Back your favorite team, ride with your clutch time killer, bet on buzzer beaters, breakout performances, and game-winning threes. From player props to same-game parlays, this is how you take your fandom to the next level. Here's what I know. I love the T-Wolves. You can get them, lines are subject to change, on DraftKings right now at plus 265 to win the series. They have experience, they have been here before, and obviously they just have a really good team who's really hot right now. If you like them to win the series, I don't hate them then to win the NBA championship at plus 550. New to the game, no sweat. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today, bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll score $300 in bonus bets. It's that easy. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code JOHN. That's code JOHN for new customers to get $300 in bonus bets if your bets wins and you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. Crown is yours. I love the pod. Keep me awake. The question comes from a Seahawk fan living in enemy territory. I live in Northern California, heart of 49er Nation. I'm curious to know your overall opinion on the Seahawks moving on from Pete and hiring a younger Mike Macdonald. And by not choosing to follow the rest of the league by hiring a young offensive guru, and instead sticking to their roots, hiring a defensive guru. I have mixed feelings myself and tend to lean heavier on an offensive coach. But again, as a Seahawk fan, after seeing arguably one of the best, if not the best defense in the NFL during our Super Bowl run, what they did to quote unquote the best offense in the game. I think he's talking Denver. And just knowing in the division, we have Sean McVay is the right move. You are like if you're drafting one overall and you need a quarterback and there are no quarterbacks in the draft, what are you supposed to do? Right? The Titans, would they have rather had Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels than Cam Ward? Sure. But Cam Ward was in the draft that they were in, and those two guys were not. Would they rather have Peyton Manning or Andrew Luck? My point is that if you fire your coach, the candidates are the candidates, right? Like, would John Schneider rather hire Kyle Shanahan or Sean McVay than Mike Macdonald? Of course he would, because there's way less risk. It's like, well, I already know those guys can be head coaches, and they coach offense, which is the most important thing to do. But those guys aren't available. Kevin O'Connell, LaFleur, all these guys had jobs. And Ben Johnson last year wouldn't leave. So Mike Macdonald, if he had been an offensive coordinator, what he did in Baltimore, he would have been discussed like Ben Johnson was this year, and he was. But it's just a little different because he's a defensive guy. So I think, listen, anytime that you can get, he was called boy genius in Baltimore. I mean, the guy is really, really impressive. Whenever I watch Mike Macdonald talk, he actually conducts himself in front of a microphone closer to an offensive personality. He's not like screaming F bombs. He's not your typical defensive coach. So I like the hire. I think he's a really high level guy. I thought he did a good job last year. I guess the only thing is, you know, eventually if they draft a quarterback, and I'm sure they're going to try over the next couple of years, or if Sam Darnold they invest a decent amount of money in him, Mike, like Pete, can coach personality, can coach like offensive philosophy and big picture stuff. But like on a daily basis, when it comes to footwork, when it comes to decision making, when it comes to the execution of the offense, he's not really going to have anything to do with that. And that's the overall pushback of like at the end of the day, when you give Brock Purdy a lot of money or Matt Stafford a lot of money or Jordan Love a lot of money, your head coach is with that guy every single day. So sink or swim, he's right next to him in the pool. Where Mike, like his baby really is Witherspoon and the defense and the pass rush and the coverage and the tackling. That's what he does well. That's his expertise. So in a perfect world, if I get them both, Ben Johnson and Mike Macdonald, I think most people, including yourself, would just take Ben Johnson. But they didn't really have that option. And I think when you look at the coaches that were hired last year, I think Mike was a no-brainer hire for them and a really, really good one. Love the show. Writing in a non-football question. I have lived in the upper Midwest my entire life. When I tell people I'm from Minnesota, they always ask, what's the weather? Especially if they are from the south or western part of the country. I assume they think it's freezing most of the time, but it's really not. Meanwhile, I just looked at the temperature in Scottsdale, Arizona, and it's already 97 degrees at 1 o'clock in the afternoon in late May. That sounds awful to me, especially since it's going to be even hotter in July and August. That, my friend, it will be. In the winter, where I live, I can always put on an extra layer or two and be fine to go outside. But you can only take off so many clothes when it's 110 degrees. How are you not stuck inside during those unbearable summer months? And why is the weather in Arizona considered to be better than the weather in Minnesota? I think if you just polled most people, whether you're from Minnesota, whether you're from New Mexico, Florida, Philly, whatever, most human beings do not like the cold. And having lived here, I lived in Philly for a couple of years, which was by far the coldest place I'd ever lived for a long period of time. But living in Arizona, we get a lot of Midwest transplants. So I get to meet, and through golf, I meet a ton of Bears fans. Met a ton of Vikings fans, Chiefs fans, like that stretch of the country. They come here. And I would say to a man, and when you say put on an extra layer, 110 degrees hot, no one would argue that. And honestly, we had stretches last year when it was 115 degrees. Where I grew up in Sacramento, California, yeah, I grew up in Davis, but it's separated by a causeway. It got 105 to 108 degrees. I lived in Fresno, it was 110 degrees. Like it gets really hot in places in California. Even when I lived in Walnut Creek, which is a suburb of the Bay Area, it definitely got high 90s, maybe 100, 101. That's hot's hot. Cold sucks. I would take the hot. Now, 115 is pretty unbearable. And like you said, you spend a lot of time inside. Guess what? They have air conditioning. I do think when it's 0 degrees, or again, I've never lived in the Midwest really. I stayed in Kansas City for a little bit, but I left in early December. Obviously Chicago, where you are in Minnesota, the Dakotas, places that are freezing, Michigan. I would think if we just polled most people, cold sucks. I can play golf in 112. You ain't doing dick in minus 10 degrees. It's safe to drive when it's hot. Is it safe to drive in a sleet storm. So I can just speak for myself. I hate the cold, and maybe you hate the heat. And some people just are more comfortable in their environment. And I'm very comfortable, as comfortable as you can be. Like you said, 115 degrees, maybe don't go outside, right? And it's why the smaller percentage of people around here that are rich, they just leave. It's like, where are you going? Leaving for the summer. It's like, you're 48 years old. Don't you have a job? But you hear that a lot depending on what career you're running with. And then some of us, you're just stuck here. And you can try to play golf, maybe, uh, go to the gym. I don't know. You just do normal stuff. But school's never been canceled because it's 112 degrees. When I talk to people that are from your area, like they cancel stuff when it's too cold to, I don't know, step outside your house. Because it's never too hot to actually step outside. You're just going to be warm. And here's the other thing I would say about where I live, and I've never lived in the South, but I know we have people that listen to the show from wherever, Florida, Texas, obviously Mississippi, Alabama, South Carolina. It's not humid here. Now, when it's really hot, it feels thick, but it's not, there is no humidity. Like even when I was in New Orleans for the Super Bowl, you're in early February, you could feel it outside. Like the air was thick. It's not like that here. So I'm not defending. If you don't like heat, you don't like heat. I hate cold. I despise the cold. I mean, I get cold anything under 60 degrees. So I just think that you get used to your surroundings. I've grown up the majority of my life in warmer weather climates. That's why I always like speak to these quarterbacks. It's much easier. I'll never forget when I got hired with the Eagles. I owned one suit. I owned one suit. My dad had bought it for me. I think when I graduated college. And I never even needed it when I went to get a job at Fresno State. But I remember coming back and he took me to this place in Sacramento. I'd never been to a tailor really, and he got me just like a Italian suit. And again, it was probably, I don't know, $500, which again was extremely nice and it was cool. I owned this suit, but I don't think I ever wore it until I got hired in Philadelphia. And I remember maybe bought it for me when I got the Eagles job. I forget, but I remember you wear a suit on game day. It's cool. You're like official. You're in the front office. I'm working for the Eagles. You wear a suit. Problem is, in training camp or a preseason game, it's unbearably hot. So you're just soaked. Now, I guess you didn't have to wear a suit. You just wear a button up shirt. But as the season goes on, you put on a suit. I remember showing up to our first cold game. I just wore the suit, and everyone else had like that extra long ass thick coat. I'm like, what? I was outside for maybe 5 minutes and I couldn't feel my body. And this is just walking from the car to the field and standing there for 5 minutes. And I had to go over to the heater and stood by the heater, which you got to be careful. You stay there too long, it'll burn a hole in your pants. But it's just we're all wired differently. Some of us like what we like, right? I think it's no different. Like we all got different taste buds. We all got different, sexual preferences. We all like our climates a little different. Though most people in my life, I think, prefer warmer over colder. Quick question. Do you see Kyle getting the 2000s Andy Reid treatment? Always a bridesmaid on crazy talented team until he moves onto a really solidified, uh, to really solidify his craft. Andy to the Chiefs, maybe Kyle to the question. I hate to admit that being a Niner fan, but it is what it is. I think both guys are pretty similar. That Jimmy Garoppolo had some moments, and Purdy's been good, but you would never say those guys are as good as the top quarterbacks. Now, Andy had Donovan, who was a pretty consistent Pro Bowler and a really talented player, but no one ever thought Donovan was like as good as Peyton or Brady or I'm trying to think who would have been playing in the early 2000s, like Favre. He wasn't on the level. Like you would take those other quarterbacks over him. And then you got Alex and Michael Vick, who had, these guys were talented guys. And obviously Michael was really good the one year. But Patrick Mahomes is like one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And they just go to the Super Bowl every single year, right? But before that, like he went to the Super Bowl once and he lost to Tom Brady, which really isn't that weird. right? Kyle has gone to the Super Bowl twice with Purdy and with Jimmy, and he lost to Patrick Mahomes. When you say that out loud, it's not even that weird. Like Andy Reid in 2000, whatever, 4 or 5, lost to Belichick and Brady. Not really that bad of a loss. Kyle Shanahan has gone to the Super Bowl and lost to Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Howie Sirianni and Jalen Hurts lost to him too. It happens. So I think if Purdy is going to be above average and a good player, but never like a superstar, your margin for error is really small. The Chiefs' margin for error is a little higher. No different than even like the Ravens and the Bills. Just to be in the playoffs every year. Their margin for error is higher because their quarterbacks are superstars. And to me, a lot, if Purdy can become a consistent Pro Bowler, then they're going to be really good. And it's just going to come down to an individual game playing at a high level. But if he's up and down, it could be all over the place and get weird. Last fall, I created an Instagram account for myself and to interact with the mailbag. I thought I was being creative and made the username just, I can't even read it. Something to react with John. Anyway, tried interacting several times, but only got on the scene status once. Basically, wanted to make sure you don't think it's spam account since there are no posts and I only follow one person. Maybe I just suck at the timing. In fairness to anyone that's tried this and hasn't been answered, this is not a buttoned up process in the sense of like Instagram can be all over the place. Stuff gets deleted, stuff gets misplaced. It's not like an Excel spreadsheet where everything is like evenly organized and it's uh, very straightforward. It's I like doing this because I think it's an organic way. You guys follow me on Instagram. It's just an easy way to interact. But it'd probably be easier if we had an email account to mess with everything. But I'm not going to change at this point in time. Anyway, I do have a Fugazi Friday for you. Amazon streaming services. We pay them a monthly fee, but yet every good movie in their catalog costs $3.99 to rent. If I have to pay to rent the movie or a show I want to watch, what on earth is the monthly fee for? Clearly, Amazon has the movie or show in their catalog, but now I have to pay extra to see it. I think it's a total scam. Obviously, Amazon isn't going anywhere, and I'm going to stop using it, and I'm not going to stop using it, but it still annoys me. I can't speak to the business model. Uh, I do wonder if a movie that they charge you, like let's say I want to watch Goodfellas, let's just say, or Dumb and Dumber, or just some hit movie from my childhood. And sometimes when I look and all the streaming services, if it's not on Netflix or any of the free services, it'll be on a place like Amazon, and they'll charge me. And I do wonder in that situation, they have to pay whoever has the rights to them. It's not necessarily under, could be wrong. I don't work in this industry. I'm not quite sure all the logistics of it, but I would guess there's some element of that because no one complains. Let's just say Mission Impossible or whatever the hit movie is out. We know in a couple months that is going to be available on Amazon Prime to rent. I don't know about you, but like when I rent a movie, I typically do it through Amazon Prime. Not like in your scenario, but just in the scenario that I want to watch Mission Impossible in a month. I've done that with probably 20 movies in the last year, rented a movie. But I don't feel as bad because it's like the equivalent of going to the DVD store or the movie store back in the day because I know it's relatively new. I've always wondered when they're charging me for a movie that's like 20, 25, 30, 40 years old, is there some sort of like they have to pay someone and they don't want to eat those costs? Because you would say typically Amazon historically has been good at like eating a bunch of costs for us, but I don't know. I don't view it as much as a Fugazi because I think there's some business element of the deal. I don't think they're just pocketing that $3.99. I think there's a cost on them. Would be my educated guess of just a consumer. I did probably in the last month. I don't want to say talk shit. I thought Tom Hardy. I didn't quite get it. I have watched Mobland. I do think it's pretty good. I've kind of enjoyed the show, and he's pretty good. I mean, he's an enjoyable character. Maybe is like I don't know, in previous movies or shows, something about him, but I've really really liked him. I actually think he makes the show because Pierce Brosnan, I don't want to say he's over the hill, but he's kind of got some like it feels like a guy that's been a five-time All-Star, that's 40 years old, that's playing for a some awful team. It's like, God, this is sad to see. That's how his vibes are kind of giving me. There are a lot of other good characters in the show. It does have its cheesy moments and unrealistic moments, which sometimes if I go into an action movie or a show, I'm cool with. I can live with, like I've said all the time, I don't really do like Dungeons and Dragons. That's why I didn't do what was the hit show with the dragons. It wasn't really for me. Not because Game of Thrones, not because I watched it because I knew it was big culturally and I wanted to kind of I got a little FOMO, but those type things don't do much for me. Now, I think this stuff is more realistic, even though I know that it's probably not quite happening like this. But you give me Tom Hardy, who stole the show. He's really good. So I take it back. All star performance by my man, and Pierce Brosnan. Once for us guys that grew up on Nintendo 64 and the James Bond video game, GoldenEye, which I would say non-sports would be, it'd have to be on the top 10 list of video games of all time. I'd have to do some serious thinking on that one, but I think uh, non like arcade game, but it's definitely one of the best. It might be the best Nintendo 64, that or like Mario Kart. And Pierce Brosnan was 007, James Bond. He was good in it. This version of him, I don't know. Some guys age well as actors, and some guys don't as well. And maybe part of it he's trying to cheesen it up, but I thought it's like, I don't know, not really buying it.